Welcome back to another great episode of Town2Weekly, as we are only 50 days away from the presidential election. I'm Jason Leach with PoliticallyScrewed.com. To my right is Mark Gorman with Facebook.com/tabnow. And to my left is Ben Craner of Town2Weekly. So let's get it started off, guys. Mark's going to hit us with an issue of another misuse of taxpayer dollars.
Okay, I have a very interesting one, probably a controversial one. Robert Koslick, if I'm saying it right, is a convicted murderer who was at home one night in 1990 dressed as a female when his wife came home. Some kind of dispute came up, they got into a fight, and he murdered his wife. In 1993, he was sentenced to life for murder, where he struggled with his sexual identity. He tried to commit suicide. He tried to castrate himself twice. And after a long struggle with the courts and the judge, he was granted permission to have a sex change paid by the courts or by us up to $500,000. I think that's a waste of money, and I don't think that's right. I don't see why we need to be the people who pay for someone's sex change.
So basically you're saying this guy murders his wife, goes to prison, and we the taxpayers pay for his
sex change
up to $500,000.
Yep.
Makes sense to me.
In this world?
I mean, what do you say to that?
I would like to make one correction. It's no longer Robert, it's now Michelle.
Michelle.
I don't want to be disrespectful.
Michelle Robert? Can we call him that?
Huh?
Michelle Robert?
Wow.
The sad part about it is that this is not the first time that we've had this kind of misuse with taxpayer dollars when it comes to the prison system.
Right.
I mean, these guys have it made.
Yeah.
What prison is for bad people that made big mistakes in their life. Am I wrong?
You're correct.
It's supposed to be rehabilitative. I mean,
but they're living
how's
better.
It rehabilitative when you want to stay in because you're getting treated so well.
But they're living better than people that are given their 100% all, that are law-abiding citizens and can barely make ends meet.
Sure.
And prisoners are living better than we are.
Sure.
Yep.
I don't understand it. I don't get
politicians always want to cry out, it's for the children, it's for the children. Well, some of this money, $500,000 for the future Michelle, could actually help the children. And it's sad. It's we got some convicted felon out there draining the system.
I think when the politician says for the children, it's code word for my wallet.
Yeah, it's code word for I need taxpayer dollars.
I'll buy that one.
Yeah, but the psychologist said he has a gender identity disorder.
Okay.
I feel so sorry.
Which I can believe that's legitimate. You might not have a right mind and you might be confused. Fine, okay. We'll send you to psychology classes.
Anyone that murders their wife, I mean, yeah, they're out of their mind.
And I don't mind paying for him to go see a psychologist. Be treated, but to physically change your appearance, it doesn't make sense.
And you're not going to be able to put your sex change at use because you're in prison for murder.
Hold on, there's an issue here. Hold on. This guy, I thought about something. Fear me in here, Mark. So, is he now going to be in the male side of the prison or female side of the prison?
He's still in the male side because he is still by law a male.
But after
he'll be put into the female.
Wow.
Yeah, he'll be.
The words of a famous talk show host in Atlanta. He's, and this could be Robert's perspective too. Mr. Neil Bortz likes to say he's a confused person where he's actually a lesbian trapped in a male body. Couldn't that not be what? Anyway, I've really decarried this show. Go right ahead. Finish your point.
Well, we can all thank Mark Wolf as the judge who made that decision.
Who?
Mark, not this Mark, but another Mark Wolf.
What state was this in?
Massachusetts.
Oh, that doesn't sound.
We can't vote. Okay, Massachusetts. There
Damn
you go.
Northerners.
It doesn't.
And they call the South
Shock.
crazy.
Yeah.
You know what's so funny is these people and the lawmakers come out and they stand up and like, prisoners still have rights. Last time I checked, you don't.
Mm-mm.
No, you lost your.
You lost that. You forfeited those rights.
Absolutely.
Yes, you got a right to an attorney and counsel and everything else.
I have a side
Yes,
question.
you have a right to a free child, but not the right to get your winky cut off. I'm just saying.
I have a side question, not directly to this case, and it might lead into yours, Ben.
Yeah.
If a convicted felon, and we have a friend who's a convicted felon, and it was for, I guess, I don't know exactly.
Oh, when you say we, I mean,
well, not you, Ben.
Okay.
But it's for having more than a certain amount of marijuana while driving. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair. He messed up.
Yeah,
he went to jail.
Sure.
He did his time. But because of that charge, he will never get to vote or have a gun. I kind of think that's interesting when we have such extreme, like someone who murders someone, fine, take their right to vote away, take their gun away. But someone who paid their time on a simple thing that only hurt themselves.
Smoked some weed, he did some, something illegal.
Yeah, but I'm still for, in a broader scheme of thing, if you get convicted of a felony, okay, you lose those rights that we as law-abiding citizens that made the right decisions in life have not to have. Like the voting, I don't think you should vote if you're a convicted felon. I agree with that. I don't think if you're a convicted felon you should be allowed to carry a gun. I agree with that.
But why should our misdemeanor felony be so black and white? Where's the gray area for the bumper and for
Yeah, but the bumper between first of all, let's look at this. The bumper there for misdemeanor and felony is quite a difference. Okay? Hear me out.
Yeah. In some situations.
You have to have over an ounce of marijuana. If you have over an ounce of marijuana, that's not for personal consumption.
That's not true.
You haven't met
some people on that.
I wouldn't know, but I mean,
if you've got a joint,
that doesn't sound like that much to me.
Okay, but all right, let's look at it this way. What's the stealing money? What's it, $1,000?
No, for a felony?
Yeah. No,
in the state of Georgia, I believe it's $300, and I think they're bumping up to $500.
So if I stole $299, it's a misdemeanor.
Yes.
So I can still vote and have a gun. I steal $1.
But the whole thing is all these felons can plea deal. And the majority of them do. Majority take their felony charge and they drop it down to a misdemeanor level. Why? Because they are man enough not to go to court to stand up and say, I did something wrong. I'm going to take this misdemeanor conviction and move on in life.
Yeah.
But the ones that fight it deserve to get everything thrown at them.
And this is a little off topic.
The ones that fight it deserve to get thrown.
That are guilty.
I don't agree with that.
I mean, if you're innocent, yeah, fight it.
But I might be guilty of a crime, but I can still fight a crime that I don't think maybe the punishment's not what I think is fit. That's fine fighting that.
All right.
Ben,
Yeah. I mean, I was going to bring up one little thing.
Go ahead.
Some of these felonies and some of these things are so political.
Right.
I mean, you got DAs wanting to prosecute things because they think it's going to get some attention. And, we currently right now in Georgia have a law that we want to create a felony for, illegal if they get caught with a DUI. I think we talked about that.
We talked about the last episode.
So that's political. I mean, you got an illegal alien, driving down the road. He gets pulled over and he has a DUI. That's a felony. But a legal citizen gets pulled over. It's a misdemeanor. That's a little political to me.
And the reason why that wouldn't work out with what I'm saying is because it's discrimination. There's a difference between the same law applies to everybody.
It has to.
Compared to a different law applies to this person differently or that person differently. That's totally different.
That's a politician playing to a base, and that's clearly what it is. And it's really just complete backroom politics. I mean, I don't know if that's the right term to use, but I mean it's wrong. You can't apply the law differently to different people.
But to get back on point.
Yeah, get back on point, please.
To waste taxpayer dollars for a guy who's going to spend the rest of his life in jail for a sex change is absurd.
I agree.
And I'm glad that's Massachusetts and that's not Georgia. Let's just leave it
at that. I mean,
I'm sure we've got our.
I'm sure we have wacky judges like Mr. Wolf too.
And I'm sure our money's going up there somehow.
The honorable Mr. Wolf.
Well, you know what? I hope the people of Massachusetts, when this judge comes back up for re-election, I hope it gets full front and they kick him out.
Yeah, I wouldn't be. I would actually send money to his opponent.
Yeah.
I would support his opponent just to make sure he didn't.
That's
Democrat or Republican, whoever it is, I would have no problem giving his opponent money to. But anyway, we can all thank Mr. Mark Wolf for doing that for us. And,
I wonder if we could save a few dollars if they're doing it by the inches. I know that. I'm just saying.
Hey, that's too much information
all right.
for me.
Can
we need to move on to another topic.
Wait, before we move in, I wanted to show a picture. I didn't know if we still had that.
Do we have a picture? I want to see this picture of this person that has to have their sex change. This is going to be great.
This is what they look like.
You might agree with them afterwards. I'm not sure.
If he's cute, I'm single. Let's see what we got going on. I mean, let's have fun with it.
No, thank you.
All right, can we post that? Can we post that picture?
He's trying to get it right now.
All right, one sec.
I'm happy where I'm at.
To see what this she-man looks like.
All right, there you are.
I'm happy where I'm at.
There you are. All right.
Did it go up?
Yeah, it's good.
Wow.
Wow, that was very enlightening.
You're welcome.
Thanks for that visual. That really helped out a lot.
No problem.
Next up is Big Brother really watching us. Here's Ben's take. What do you got for us?
All right. A little disturbing trend going on in Georgia, and it's going on across the nation. we have this term people should be familiar with. It's a term called databasing. This is when your government decides to start keeping tabs on you. Basically, they want an apparatus where they can come in and keep tabs on everything you're doing out in the street. They want to keep tabs on everything. Every time you go to the pharmacy and you get any kind of prescription, they're actually keeping tabs on you. This last year, 2011, July 1st, we implemented a law that took effect that basically states that any prescription drug you get, the government is now going to keep, the state of Georgia, is going to keep tabs on how much of that Vicodin you got or how much of that hydrocodone you got, and they want to know. And when the pharmacy writes a prescription, it's going into their database. And so if my friend here, if he broke his foot or something, and you got some nice codeine to take care of you, well, now the government knows you have how much codeine went to you and if it's in your house or not. And to me, what does the government have business knowing your medical situation? I always thought that was kind of private between you and your doctor.
Well, it's supposed to be.
Well, obviously, the Republican legislature doesn't think that's private anymore. They think they have a right to snoop around behind your cabinets, into your drawers, and look and see what you have and you and your doctors have decided that you need for your life.
Right.
They decide they want to know what's going on between the doctor-patient relationship. And that, to me, is intrusive. And, that's one of the things, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm pretty conservative. I'm pretty religious. And I'm sick and tired of these Republicans going there and thinking they can take my vote and abuse it. I'm just sick of it.
Well, I'm sorry, but
No, go ahead.
to kind of go away from the topic just real quick, I hate when we have one party controlling the whole state.
And we have a problem in Georgia.
Democrat or Republican.
Yep.
They get to pass everything they want.
They
and it
get
doesn't
free
help
reign,
everybody out. So
and every time they take it too far. Every time. I don't care what party's in control. We got to keep tabs on these politicians. And it's a scary thing when you start thinking about it. The databasing going on, it's not, and it's more sinister than that. Databasing is done by companies. It's not being done by the state. There are companies coming out there and they're soliciting or lobbying the government for big money to put on these programs where they're actually keeping tabs on citizens.
Right.
And if you go around right now, if you drive up behind a police car and you see these huge stacks of equipment on the back end of that police car, they're reading license plates right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they're snooping around not because they're trying to find who doesn't have the correct license tag. They're actually tracking who is out there going to what place at what time during the day. They're tracking your behavior. What in the world's going on here? It hasn't been implemented in Georgia, but it's coming. There's already about 4 or 5 states that's already fully implemented a databasing program that's tracking drivers' habits. And I'm sure that same company that's doing that is lobbying every state in this nation, wanting to implement their program to take money out of our pockets to keep tabs on us.
Yeah.
My thing is, even though the state's done it at the Georgia level, I wonder if they're going to try to do something like this at the federal level with Obamacare now passed.
Ouch. That's a great point.
With as much evasion as some people think that Obamacare has between doctor and patient, responsibilities. Will the government now lead us to a national database of our whole entire medical history?
Well, in some system they're going to have it because all the database you have to know, we've actually tied the IRS to our medicine now. That's what Obamacare's done. It's literally tied the IRS to our medical care. That should be enough to light a fire under people. Say, get this guy out of here.
Let me ask you another question. Based on your remarks of the medical being Washington State of Georgia, is it that much of a concern for us? Because here's the way I think about it. If you're taking the drugs that are given to you responsibly,
Sure.
the way you're supposed to,
Sure.
and you're not selling these drugs on the street, should we be worried about that? I mean, you think about the invasion that we allow ourselves to be involved in every day with our smartphones.
Sure.
We can scan everything from our smartphones now. Like they got the Starbucks card. You just scan it, automatically takes off your, from your card that you put on money for anyway. So with that kind of invasion that we're allowing ourselves to get involved in, and that we're okay with, do you think this is really a bad idea for the government to be involved in?
It's one thing for us to do something, and we know when we're using a smartphone or we're using that special card, our Buyers Club card at Sam's or Kroger's or whatever, and we're part of a program, we kind of know in the back of our mind, we're giving information to that company. That's one thing. But when the government does it sinisterly, when they're actually going around and making us as taxpayer pay for it, and then they turn around and use that against us, I mean, they're suspecting that you're going to criminally use that drug, or they wouldn't be keeping tabs on you anyway. What is the point?
What's the limit? We keep going smaller and smaller steps towards this.
Bigger and bigger, big brother, and the citizen loses more and more of his anonymity. I mean, he's no longer this free person that the government looks at as an innocent individual. We are slowly becoming more and more guilty just by existing.
By association, or yeah.
I mean, I'm going to keep tabs on you. You can't keep. There's a law. There's the Fourth Amendment that prohibits the government to search or to seize.
And I was going to ask you about that. Do you think we would have an argument in the Supreme Court to say this is a violation of that amendment
Yes.
for search of our house without pretty much searching our house?
If the Fourth Amendment is properly applied, there is no way in the world you should be able to do databasing on people without them knowing it. Unless a judge has allowed you to scan that license plate, unless a judge has allowed you to keep tabs on that medicine, there is no right for the authorities to know what's in your house. That is totally anti-Fourth Amendment. And it's time this country wakes up and the citizens actually look and see what the Constitution is. And when these politicians start stepping on it and trampling on it, I don't care if it's a donkey or if it's an elephant behind their name, get those, out of there. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I'm gonna blow a gasket. I'm gonna slow down.
No, it's frustrating, and you can't move through a major city like New York, Atlanta, Los Angeles without a camera being on you at some point.
No,
well, that's true. Between you brought the point with the tag readers in the state of Georgia. I know several states out there have them. You and me know friends that actually operate and use them. My point is this: is the house is one thing. You're secure. You should be secure inside your house without any intervention or from the government. My question is, once you step outside the perimeters of your own property and your own house, what rights do you really have to privacy?
Well, you do. The Constitution says you have the right in your house and your effects. Now, your effects is if I have a I don't carry a purse, but if I have a briefcase or if I have a car, that's my effects. That's my personal property. That is mine.
Which has been proven, though, through law that a police officer can look in your car as long as if something's in plain sight in your car. Sure. Which is kind of, I understand why and I agree because I have friends who are law enforcement, but it could be argued.
And it's abused every day, and it's sad to say most of these law enforcement guys don't even know what rights the citizens have that they are going after.
They just know what tricks they can use to.
The only thing I'd say about it, though, is driving is a privilege. Nobody here has a right to actually drive their vehicle down the interstates. Yeah, we all pay for them through our taxpayer dollars, but we don't have a right to be behind an automobile.
May I quote Benjamin Franklin?
Please do.
If you do it right.
I
can't wait, Mark. Please.
Those willing to give up liberty for security deserve neither and will lose both.
Yeah, Thomas Jefferson. Yep.
Well,
We all want to get you.
Either way, they said a lot of good things.
But anyway, it's a good quote. I saw it before. I saw it a couple of weeks ago.
What you just said there, the internet.
Yeah.
How are we not getting tracked to the internet? Again, it all goes back to my whole question with the smartphone and everything else. And I understand your point of saying that because we use the internet, because we use our smartphones, we're allowing companies to see certain things.
Period. Yeah, and we're doing that because we're actually getting a benefit a lot of times out of it. And we kind of should know that that's what's going on. But anyway, we can touch on this one. This is a hot topic for many times to come, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely cover it.
Next on our list, we missed last week, so we definitely want to hit this Democratic National Convention that went on 2 weeks ago. We're first going to play you a video because it makes me laugh every time I hear it. It's coming.
Hearing none, the matter requires a 2/3 vote in the affirmative. All those delegates in favor say aye. All those delegates opposed say no. In the opinion of the... Let me do that again. All of those delegates in favor say aye. All those delegates opposed say no.
I love this part.
Yeah, I don't know what to do.
I guess I'll do that one more time. All those delegates in favor say aye. All those delegates opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 have voted in the affirmative. The motion is adopted.
All right, we can stop
And
it.
the platform has been amended as shown on the screen.
They're booing God.
Yeah. Well, let's give a brief background quick, and then I'll let Ben open it up with his remarks. The Republican National Convention held theirs with God, Israel being the capital of Jerusalem. I'm sorry, Jerusalem being the capital of Israel. Correct.
Yep.
The DNC on the first day, the delegates said, "We're taking out God, and we don't recognize Jerusalem being the capital of Israel."
Sure.
Okay. Now, with that controversy that sparked up in the political world, the Obama administration felt a lot of heat.
Sure, they were going to lose a lot of much needed money and much needed votes.
Votes, correct.
Sure.
So they pretty much told them, we're going to go ahead and pass it on the second day.
We have to, yeah.
So what y'all heard in that video was them voting on it, and the people were still saying no. But just like politics today, whether again Democrat or Republican, it's not what the people want, it's what they want. And the teleprompter actually told the mayor of, I can't remember what city in California he was overseeing it, but pretty much told him, we're going to approve it regardless.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, that's why he was so confused with how to rule, because he clearly understood that the people were saying no.
Yeah, there was no doubt in his mind that the people, the delegates of the Democrat convention were clearly, they'd already taken God out, they'd already voted. You understand, in these conventions, they put a platform out there, and all the delegates get together and they form their platform. When the platform they formed, these delegates who were duly elected
By the
and
states.
they came in from all the states, from all over the nation, and they set up the platform. Well, the platform stated specifically, and they decided to remove Jerusalem as the capital city of Israel. Now, or stated that it should be the capital of Israel. And they voted on it already before it came to that vote. And they said, yep, we're taking it out. Also, they decided to take out different references of God. Now, that's their prerogative. They should have left it alone because that's what they voted on. Well, they decided for political expediency that could not stand because they knew the party overall would suffer. Even though the delegates didn't want it, there was political powers that be that knew that this is going to hurt the election campaign of Barack Obama big time, and we had to modify what the delegates decided. And that right there, in a nutshell, is where they should have had Jimmy Carter come in, and he should have been there to make sure your elections are actually not rigged. Yeah. He does this all over the world, and he should have been in his own Democrat convention right here in the good old United States to make sure the vote actually counts.
Now, in fairness, the DNC made that, it was voted on by delegates. I know all Democrats don't feel that way.
Sure. I mean, I know a lot of...
and I know a lot of Republicans don't agree with all the rules at the RNC.
Absolutely.
But let me ask you a question, Gorman.
Yeah.
How come the Democrats in their own party can watch something like this and not be upset?
No, it's ridiculous. They're the ones who say there's no voter fraud. They're the ones who say having an ID to vote is racist or prejudiced or whatever you want to call it. And then here it is in their own party. It's right there, proof, and they deny it. And it just shows you that I don't know, it's frustrating.
And one thing about that vote, it wasn't they needed 51% to pass that.
2/3.
They needed 2/3 to pass it. And it was clearly that the vote was so clearly in favor of not passing that amendment. It's laughable. And what's really probably not laughable is the fact that the media just glosses over this.
Oh yeah,
they're not talking about it because it's a black eye on their party, and I am saying it's their party. And let's just be fair, media. What are you doing, New York Times? What are you doing, Time? What are you doing, Newsweek? What are you doing, MSNBC? Oh, that's not media. Hold on.
Did anybody tell you that media is actually liberal?
Oh, sorry, I missed that one.
Yeah.
But anyway.
It's just like you heard the lady in the video also. She's like, I felt so bad for this mayor because he doesn't rule over people like that and take votes like that. So he was very confused on. He's like, we got a teleprompter going. Let me try it again. But you heard the lady. She's like, you know what? You got to rule. Let them do what they're going to do.
The people are the people, and after she said the people, you got to go with whatever the people decide.
No, what she said was you have to do what we're telling you to do, and just let them deal with whatever they're going to do.
Yeah.
Wow.
She wasn't letting him make up that decision.
No, she said you need to let them do what they're going to do.
Yeah, she said you rule.
So
by what you see on that teleprompter, pretty much, and you let them deal with it the way they're going to deal.
So he had a teleprompter. You really think he had a teleprompter telling him what?
It showed him. It shows it on there. It tells him.
Wow.
2/3 agree to this amendment.
There's photos out there with it.
There's no second one. I can understand like one says this, the other teleprompter says this, and Case says no.
No,
so he didn't have a choice. It was pre-rigged. It didn't matter what. It didn't matter if the 100% of the delegates would have said no. It wouldn't have mattered. That teleprompter said yes, and he was just going to go along with whatever.
Well, and it falls down because, Obama is the president, and he said, look, we got to change this back.
Well, he did say he would be ready to rule day one, and that's what you call ruling. That's
Now the RNC had the same problem that a lot of people didn't catch on with John Boehner, but John Boehner is used to that. He's used to dealing with the Congress, and he knows how to just pass something and move on. Mm-hmm. He didn't actually have a 2/3 vote.
There was something like that.
I don't know exactly what the vote was.
I forget the issue too, but there was something along those lines. I do remember something.
But because of his experience, again, it didn't look.
But he knew how to do it.
It didn't look as bad instead of the guy just there going, So I don't know. It was funny to watch it. I'm very upset with the fact. Listen, I understand you don't want God in there. God doesn't need to be in everything. God's in your heart more than anything else. But what is this attack on Israel and Jerusalem? Like, I don't understand why we have become so far from our allies who's been there for everything.
Well, strictly on an ally base, there is only one representative democracy in the Middle East. There's only one. That's Israel. All the other ones are either thugs ruling a country through sheer dictatorship, or sheer fanaticism. And I'm talking about like theocratic fanaticism, where you have, completely uneducated, kids sitting in the streets, and they'll beat up anyone that opposes their ruler, and that's just how they work.
Yeah.
And that's the Middle East for you right now. And the only ally we have, the only one, is Israel, and it's a government set up much like ours. It's representative democracy, and they don't treat if you're a Palestinian living in Israel, if you're a citizen, they don't treat you in some medieval way or something. They treat you like a citizen. You are a real citizen. I've met Palestinians that are from Israel. I've traveled with them in countries outside of the United States, and they're the first to tell you they have the full privilege of being a Jewish citizen, even though they're Palestinian. And they it's not this sense of you tell me what if the reverse would happen. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. One thing about a true representative democracy is that the minority is protected. The minority law applies. It's kind of like what we were talking about before. The law applies across the board the same, and that's one thing we have to protect in this country. We have to protect the fact that the law must apply the same. But I think the issue with Israel is a bigger issue.
We'll get a little bit more into that a little bit later, especially with the hot topic that we have this week. Let's start off. Speeches. I'm gonna start off with Michelle Obama. I'm gonna throw it out there and let y'all pick on me all you want. By far the best speech of the convention. My personal opinion, that woman can, besides being absolutely gorgeous, she knows how to work the crowd. And she did, in my opinion, absolutely. Was substance there? No. But as far as giving me, I'm just saying, as far as giving me the lifestyle of her and Obama, you felt like you were there. You could feel what Obama went through. The part of his most prized possession was a table he grabbed out of the dumpster. You can understand and relate with it.
I wanted to throw up. I was so
with
sick.
Michelle's?
No, I enjoyed Michelle.
Let's focus on Michelle's speech. Right?
I know, but I watched all week, and hers was one of the few last speeches.
She was first, actually.
She was first.
I'm sorry, she was opening.
She introduced.
She introduced.
I'm sorry, you're right. But how many times? Why was she projecting so much? Feel sorry for us because we came from. But when you really look into their past of what they dealt with, as far as being, they always try and claim that they're lower class, but it doesn't appear that way. Maybe when they were children.
I guess the way I look at it is I put myself not as an educated voter like we should be.
Mm-hmm.
I put myself as an average voter when I listen to these speeches, and I try to figure out who's the best one that can touch my heart and get the vote.
Okay.
And I think she did it.
Okay.
She
I know
appealed.
Michelle's the first, but to my point is that by the time all the speeches were done, there was that repeat of "we came from this." You know, each person that spoke was like, "I came from the slums." Like,
It was a challenge to see who had the worst
Exactly,
lifestyle.
yeah.
You're right. I give you that.
Yeah.
and that was kind of like, okay, I get it. What you're trying to connect.
I mean, it was amazing how a lot of what, and it struck me how a lot of what Michelle's speech followed Ann Romney's speech. There's a lot of the same kind of similarities, and that kind of really caught me like, wow. And just off a side note, my wife, who was, she had some comments that was kind of funny. She was making a comment after she heard Michelle's comment about Barack would come home and spend time and do homework with the girls. There was a point where he talked about he couldn't wait to come home and do homework with his girls, and you're sitting there going, my wife spends a lot of time doing homework with we have 3 boys, and she's spending time all the time doing homework with 3 boys, and you're thinking now the president of the United States is coming home and having time to do homework with his little girls, and you're like, wow. And my wife made a comment that I want a guy that's on the ball running this country. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We don't have the luxury of some guy like sitting down and doing fractions with those little girls.
Well,
And that's kind of harsh.
He's still got to be.
He's got to be a dad. But this guy spends more golf time than any president before him.
Yeah.
This guy is going out doing campaign speeches more than any other president. If you look at the amount of time he's spent campaigning compared to George W. Bush, it's an avalanche of campaigning on Barack Obama's side compared to a little snowflake of what George Bush put up with. Now, and this guy, when he is not doing that, he's helping his little girls with their homework. I mean, I'm sorry. Who is running the country?
I don't have a problem with him helping doing the homework.
I don't have a problem with
golfing
either.
And your
I don't have a problem with it. But when if he's out golfing all the time, out doing campaigning all the time, and then having time to do homework with his, who is running the country?
He's still got the final say, regardless of what it is. He's still the president of the United States.
No. I'll tell you who had the final say in healthcare. It was Nancy Pelosi.
You gotta read.
It was exactly. Obama didn't do one thing. They called Obamacare, but I'm telling you right now, he didn't put one line in that law. That was Nancy Pelosi care.
But he passed it. He had the final say. Without his signature, it doesn't become law.
Yeah, and that's all he put on there. He put one line, and that was his name. That's all he did.
All right.
So we had Michelle.
What's one of your characters of the speech that you liked or disliked?
There were 2 characters. One we knew very well, and one I think overall we had a good impression of. One we knew very well is Bill Clinton. We kind of knew what he was going to be about, and we knew what he did, and he delivered. That guy is smooth. He is silky. He is easy to look, hear and listen to, and he appeals. And I think of any one person that probably connected with the people, Bill Clinton did it, man. He knocked it out of the park.
I think that part in his speech where he says, "And I know just a man to be president." I'm waiting for him to go, me.
Yeah.
Because you listen to Bill Clinton, and Bill Clinton is about Bill Clinton.
It's all about Mr.
I'm sorry, it is.
Oh, sure.
And most of his speech was like that.
Sure.
But he's got it. There's no other candidate that can
He is
work.
politician. He is good.
But there's no other candidate I have ever seen in my lifetime that can work the people like he can.
He is. He's good. He's good. Now I will throw him under the bus on this one. That guy is so full of lies.
Yes.
Okay, and misrepresentation of truths. I kind of went through that whole thing where he talked about, and I was going to have a clip up here, but I'm going to read it right from his. I'll print off his script.
Okay.
So who's right? Well, since 1961, for 52 years now, Republicans have held the White House for 28 years, Democrats for 24 years. In those 52 years, our private economy has produced 66 million private jobs in private sector jobs. So what's the job score? Republicans 24 million, Democrats 42. So basically he's saying Democrats are twice as good as Republicans
At
creating jobs in the private sector. Well, all right. Here's the problem with Mr. Bill. I've got the chart. Okay, if you look at economy, okay, if I put a program together as a a president of the United States, and my program is going to create jobs. The day I put the program in effect, the day I walk in office, is that program in effect already?
No.
Answer is no. After I leave office, is that program that I did put in, is it still affecting the economy?
Yes.
Yes. So a more accurate way of looking at who creates more jobs would be to look at a president after he leaves office, what happens in the next 2 years? What happens in the next 2 years? If you go right down the line, what happened after Truman left office? We have Eisenhower having a drop of almost 500,000 jobs. Right after that, Eisenhower leaves office, and JFK gets an increase of almost 2 million jobs. If you follow, and I'm using a 2 year.
That's what you're saying.
I'm using a 2 year. I'm using the next 2 years. After the next 2 years, what happens in the economy? So, column, Republicans win. Republicans win. Let's move down the line. After LBJ leaves office, Eisenhower leaves office, LBJ gets a big boost for the next 2 years when he's in office. When LBJ leaves office, Nixon has kind of a mixed bag. He has one good year and one bad year. We'll kind of give him a little pass on that. Now, when Gerald Ford leaves office, Mr. Got it all together, Jimmy Carter, he has probably 2 of the best years in the last 50. And I can't give one piece of credit to Jimmy Carter on that. Because when he left office, our economy tanked like it was a rock falling out of the sky. And in the next 2 years, it fell so far. He went from gaining 7 million jobs when he walked in office after Gerald Ford left. He ended up losing over 5 million in the next 2 years after he left office. Now, is that Reagan's fault? And was the 7 million that Carter got his? No. So these statistics, these little fast with the facts kind of nonsense that we get pounded at, Clinton sounded good. That sounded great, but he was full of it. When Bush left office, Clinton experienced, after Carter's years, 2 of the best years in the economic life of our country in the last 50. That was not Clinton, that was Bush. He gained over 5 million jobs in the first 2 years. When Clinton left office, the economy tanked. It tanked like a rock falling out of the sky, just what had happened to Carter. The same exact thing.
Well, you have to also understand the history behind it, too. Clinton lived in the dot-com industry.
Sure.
When Clinton left office, the dot-com was already
Collapsed. It was falling.
Correct.
But you cannot blame Bush W for that fall.
I can't blame for that, but by the way your statistics go, then we can blame Bush for this economy and not
We
Barack
can,
Obama.
and I clearly do blame a lot of this economy on Bush. I clearly do, because Bush, if you look back, he fell into the same trap that so many silly Republicans fall into when they figure the only way they're going to appeal to the masses, they got to follow the same dogma that the liberals shove at us. What did he do? He passed the Prescription Drug Act that sunk more money of our paychecks into providing a bigger debt. Mm-hmm. Our debt is there because of Bush.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, a lot of it's there because of Bush. And if Republicans drop their logic, they blame it all on Obama. We can't do that. We have to be fair. Part of this is Bush. This is fault. But is Barack Obama sit there and look at the facts and say, you know what, we got to repeal that health care that Bush passed? We got to repeal that prescription health care law? No. What he does, he adds an avalanche on top of that and inflates the problem to make what Bush did looks minuscule.
What were you going to say?
No, you're making a lot of good points. And you know, I know we're getting away from the DNC right now. But
this is really talking about Clinton and his whole nonsense about the Republicans created this many jobs.
Well, I just think somebody needs to remind
this.
Bill Clinton who controlled the Senate and the House when he was in president.
True, and the 1994 Congress forced his hand and made him do health care reform
and budget.
Thank you, Newt Gingrich.
Unlike the budget
Who
that has been passed in
for.
the Senate the last 3 years in our current administration. Thanks.
We're going to move on to the last speaker and the most important one. You want to take us into that one?
Obama. You know what? Obama can talk. He can give a good speech. He really can. And he knows how to connect with the crowd, just like Bill Clinton. And I'm sure they probably gave each other lessons. But I noticed one thing during that speech that he did that was very interesting. He never said, you didn't build that. And he said, we did that. He kept saying, we did that,
sure.
we did that. And he kept
trying to connect.
He kept trying to pull back from those words, and I noticed that. I thought it was very condescending.
I thought President Obama's speech was by far the worst speech he's ever given. And I'll tell you why. He was not Obama 08.
No. God, no.
You rewatch it, that crowd's doing like this, through most of the speech, like,
yeah.
And of course you had every once in a while, we're all excited. But by far, he was not electric like he was in 08. The other couple things was he spent majority of his speech complaining about the Republican Party not having ideas that they've thrown out at their convention or anything like that. But you go through his whole speech, what ideas did he throw out?
Nothing new.
Nothing new. Forward.
Nothing new.
That's it.
Forward.
Yeah. And I thought by far the worst speech of the convention.
He was trying to be careful. That speech was a careful speech.
It was scripted.
Well, because he's gotten so much because of the controversy with you didn't build that.
Well, a lot of people make comments that when he's not careful and he's unscripted, he makes some pretty good blunders.
Very big.
Like
big
Joe Biden.
Yeah, and I think he had to be careful because I think what's deep inside him and what will come out if it's allowed is a heartfelt, deep, progressive idea.
True ideas.
And he's very ideological. He's true to form, and that has to be masked. Or when people see it, they kind of freak out. That's when we get those statements. You didn't build it. That's just who he is. And he's got to stay the script or he gets off and he goes down his ideological path. You have to share the wealth. Talk to Joe the plumber about that. Yeah.
Take down his mistress, known as the teleprompters, and he can't do it.
Yeah.
Now,
he's a teleprompter president. He is a teleprompter president. No
I have to, when it comes to we didn't build that, and I understand what people are saying. I know our moms took care of us, our dads took care of us, our school teachers taught us what we know. But you know what?
Well,
at the end of the
what
day,
we don't know in some cases.
I was about to get very emotional there, but forget you.
Yeah.
Because Michael Phelps didn't build that swimming pool. Michael Phelps didn't put that water in there. But Michael Phelps worked every day to build the muscle that he had, to build the courage he had to get out there and swim in those pools.
True.
He might have not built that road. He might have not built that car. But you know what? He made the conscious decision to go out there and do that.
And he made it possible for there to be an industry around his name now.
Exactly.
He's made his name worth. He's done it.
Exactly.
And yeah, like you say, there's a municipal pool he might have swum at once or twice. And there's a gym that he might have worked out at that was. But
now,
you know what?
And the difference is.
Did the government do all that? Did the federal government do the municipal pool? Did the federal government actually do the pool at the university? Did the federal government actually, wake him up in the morning and feed him? No.
Right. And to be fair, and I see how a lot of people will say, okay, well, look, rich people will get rich and then they just forget everybody else. And that does happen. It does. Unfortunately, it does. But see, some of us, realistic people like us three, when I become rich, I'm going to give my money away, but I'm not going to be forced to give my money away. I believe in charities. I believe in helping people out, and I'm going to do that. And I don't need to tell anybody that we built this and that you didn't do it. No, I did that. I earned that money, and I'm going to give it to the people I want to give it to.
Well, anyone that's successful, anyone that has money, they're not going to sit on it. They're going to invest it. And when you have resources, the only way you keep resources is you create more resources. And when you create more resources, that's the whole idea of how you grow GMP. That's the idea. You don't sit there and hammer the people that are going to create the growth in the country.
Well, when you have class warfare, you do. And that's what his presidency, this election has become. One final issue on DNC that I have for you guys.
Okay.
Did they take it from the stadium outside and move it inside because they couldn't fill it? I've got to know. They said it's because of weather and it didn't even rain.
It's funny. You know how I listen to talk radio and they do the news stories that blah, 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 Obama's DNC decided to move the speech inside. Okay, great. Next thing was the weather guy came and was like, chances for rain tomorrow, unlikely, no reason to cancel events outside. And I didn't know if they did that on purpose, but it's the South. There's always a chance to rain. I don't care if there's not a single cloud in the sky.
So you don't think it was played politically for trying to make sure it looked like it was a full
What about all
stadium?
those other speeches when they had empty chairs and they're like, Well, we wanted to make it more of an intimate crowd. Oh, then why did
That's
you put all
their
those chairs
excuse.
out
Well,
there?
that's their excuse.
We wanted to make it a more intimate crowd. Then why the heck did you put all those chairs out there?
Your point, Mark. I heard a weather commentator. I think he's more of a comedian. He came on. He goes, "There's 10% chance of rain in Charlotte tonight, and there's what was it, Raleigh? There's Charlotte." He goes, 10% chance of rain in Charlotte, and 90% chance of not enough seats filled in the stadium. So.
All right, guys, moving on to the hot topic. This is a very serious issue that we face right now with the burning of the Mideast. Okay?
Yeah.
United States soil was attacked,
Yeah.
and an ambassador was killed.
Yeah.
I'm sick and tired
Very sad.
of Barack Obama canceling his foreign policy or foreign intelligence meetings
Yeah.
to go campaigning.
Yeah. No, we have a crisis on our hands, and this is a very serious issue. Benjamin Netanyahu, we talked about one of our only allies in that area, and someone we should be showing absolute support to. He came to our country not once, not twice, but 3 times now to meet with Barack Obama because he has a serious threat to his teeny little country. Okay, and Barack Obama won't even get off his campaign trail to go meet with him. This guy is a disgrace. I'm sorry. You know, you have even someone that's not even an ally come for you for help, you have someone down the street from your house, and they knock on your door in the middle of the night and you need help. They're in fear for their life. Any decent person is going to open their door and let that person in. And this person is our staunch ally. They would do anything for us. They feel that we are one in spirit and we are connected. And Barack Obama shuns this guy. This is disgraceful.
You know, they can't sit there and blame this stupid video.
Yeah.
I don't buy it.
It might
The
be
attack
a
happened
motivator.
on 9/11,
Yeah,
11
it was
years
planned.
after 9/11, 2001. You cannot sit there and give me this crap on the news that some video caused all these protests worldwide in the Middle East. I don't buy it.
It could have been a motivator. I mean, not a major
No.
motivator.
It's the excuse.
It's an excuse.
There's only been about 200,000 views on that video, and most of them probably are from the U.S.
But the whole Middle East saw it.
Yeah, but the whole Middle East. Yeah, how that
Follow what I'm
happened?
saying?
I didn't look it up. What's the death total? I know it's more than 4. It's actually
I think it's
2 military that I know of.
because the Afghanistan bases are getting attacked as well.
Yes.
One thing that's shocking about that whole situation is that our representative, our ambassador to UN, what's her name? Susan, golly, can't think of her name off the top of my head, but she actually has the audacity to tell us that attack on our compound in Benghazi, Libya, was not pre-planned. She literally looks us bold-faced in the camera and tells us it was not pre-planned. It was based on that disgraceful, and she calls it a movie that we should not allow to be published. We should ban.
Yeah, get rid of our First Amendment
Free
right.
speech. We're Americans. We have a right to do it if we want. We can flip off the President of the United States if we want. That's who we are. We're Americans. We are not subjects.
Well, that goes back to, and we're facing the First Amendment, and a lot of politicians have come out and said, this person that made this video should be charged with a hate crime. Give me a break.
No.
How many times did they make fun of Jesus?
Oh,
how many times
that's
did they make
okay.
fun of God?
That's fine. You can do that.
How many times did they make fun of the Israelis?
You can do that all
That's
you want
okay.
to. Yeah.
But God forbid you say one bad thing about Muhammad, and you're screwed.
No.
It shouldn't
and
be like
part
this.
of
I don't buy
that,
it.
the UN ambassador, the U.S., she makes a comment that that attack was not motivated by 9/11. It was motivated by, she literally tells us this, and the president of Libya, the newly elected president of Libya, and I don't even know the guy, and I have no reason to believe him because I don't know him. I think I should respect my ambassador to UN, the U.S. ambassador to UN more, but I don't. I actually believe the president of Libya, for all places, and he actually tells us they had pre-planned this. This is a pre-planned event, and it was orchestrated, and there was not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 waves of attack, all orchestrated at that compound.
At the same time.
At the same time. And that's spontaneous.
Yeah,
if that's spontaneous, I got a bridge to sell you that's crossing the Mojave Desert. This is ridiculous.
I have 3 things. When it first happened, we sent out an apology. Okay? Why? Why did we apologize?
We're sorry for what?
Exactly.
We're sorry for the offensive nature.
We're
of
sorry
this
we have a
video.
First Amendment right?
No, we do not apologize.
I'm saying I'm explaining
I
to
know.
the viewers
Well, that's
so they can
Obama's-
understand what we're talking about.
The apology is Obama's foreign policy. That's what he does. That's all he does is apologize.
Second thing, Mitt Romney came out and said, this is what I would have done,
Yeah.
right? Now, what was the big story for the next couple of days?
Mitt Romney.
Mitt Romney attacked the president. Mitt
Oh, no,
Romney
no,
came
how
out
dare
too
you.
soon. Where's the?
On that point,
Yeah.
President Barack Obama, he gets word that the compound's under attack, and they suspect the diplomat is dead. What does Obama do?
Goes to bed.
He goes to sleep. When he wakes up, what's the first press conference he does? What's the first news release he does?
Was it his campaign schedule?
No, he makes a comment attacking Mitt
Oh, yeah,
Romney's.
that's right. Yeah. Yep.
He's attacking Mitt Romney. He's not even care. I mean, any president that can go, first of all, go to sleep without even making a comment about your representative. This guy represents you in that country, and this guy dies on American soil. A compound is American soil. When you have an embassy, that's American soil.
It's an attack
America
on
has
US
been
soil,
attacked.
yes.
We have been attacked. We are at war essentially at this point, whether undeclared or not. We've been attacked, and this president goes to sleep, puts his head on his pillow, and goes to sleep, and wakes up and starts attacking another American running for president.
I have to say,
This guy's a disgrace.
it was funny because I was in a debate not too long ago the other day, and I gave Obama a lot of credit for sticking up with foreign policy about being strong on taking out Al-Qaeda leaders using his drone attack, because he has. In all honesty, I thought Obama would have pushed all that to the wayside. Mm-hmm. Granted, we call the war on terrorism something totally different. We call, terrorist attacks now man-made disasters.
Sure.
So I hate that part of it,
Yeah.
but for the most part, he has to give the order for bin Laden.
Sure.
He has to give orders for the drone attacks in other countries.
Sure.
So I gave him credit there, and then this happens, and I'm just like, what happened? What happened to the person I just defended when it came to that?
Well, to be honest, drone attacks are sloppy and they're easy.
But they're effective.
Well, they are, but they cause a lot of civilian casualties. Something Bush was skewered over when he was president, and this guy's launched more drone attacks than Bush even dreamed of, and not one bleep, not one hiccup from the news media about it. And we have decimated our intelligence. Every time there's a drone attack, we're slowly eroding our intelligence, and we're depending more and more on guided, unmanned aircraft.
I prefer an unmanned aircraft to take out someone than one of our soldiers.
Well, it's not one of our soldiers. We're losing intelligence. We have people embedded in different countries, in areas. We need people embedded. We need intelligence on the ground. And what's happening, we're relying on the drone attacks and not relying on our intelligence.
When Obama came out,
And we're losing more and more intelligence every time we do a drone attack.
I was devastated and upset because here's your chance. Here's your chance to take a stance. Here's your chance to defend America.
Yeah.
Here's your chance to say, we do not condone the actions. And we understand that you're disappointed in the video.
Yeah, but that's not us.
But that's not us, and we have the right to freedom of speech, as you should do in your own country.
Sure.
And this is after we help, like Cairo, Egypt. This is after we just helped them uprise against a dictator.
Help them. We
supplied them with weapons. Okay, we
That's a disaster. That whole thing.
We manned the no-fly zone during that whole uprising. But
talking about Libya.
That's we could talk about this all day long. Yeah. We're going to move on to the final segment of our portion. Mark, you want to take us off?
Actually, I'm going to. You want to go last if you don't mind.
Okay.
You want me to go first? Here's my final. I'll go first. I already started. Here's my final say, people. Wake up. We're 50 days outside of the election. That's going to be one of the most important elections of your lifetime. The first presidential debate, being able to watch Romney and Obama go at it, will be October 3rd, 2012. You've got to get involved. Make a decision. Hear both sides of it, whether you like it or whether you dislike it. You've got to listen and get the facts.
I think good point. We are in a free country, and the only way we preserve our freedom, if we don't get involved, we're not going to have it. We have to get involved. This election, we suppose, is going to be a low voter turnout. I don't care what party you're part of. Start getting into the issues. Drop the taglines. Drop the sense that I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat. Focus on some issues. Find something you're passionate about, something that's worth voting for, and vote for it. And if the candidate isn't supporting your issue, then vote against him. But find something. You're a free citizen. You have a right that most people in this world do not have. Exercise it. Go USA.
If you guys don't mind, before I give my final opinion, somebody brought up an interesting thing. I maybe spend a minute or two on it talking about. I'm sure I know you're both familiar with this. The KKK road adoption.
Yeah.
Do you mind if we just hit it real quick?
Yeah, I'll hit it real quick. There's no issue.
I'll explain it. In the state of Georgia, we have an adopted highway program where you get a stretch of land that can be a mile or so, and the KKK applied for an application to have the right to clean up the side of the highway, and was it denied?
And
Yes.
it was denied, yes.
It was denied.
Yes.
Your opinion?
If they're going to deny it with the KKK, that's fine. They have to deny everybody else.
Okay.
It's not written into law that where hate groups. Listen, I don't like the KKK. I don't like the Black Panther Party. They're both hate groups in my opinion.
Yeah.
But you cannot. Again, that falls under the discrimination aspect. Which, by the way, ACLU is representing them in this case.
Sure.
Okay, and their lawsuit now that they have against the state of Georgia. But you can't sit there and discriminate between one group or the other.
Yeah.
Are the Boy Scouts a good group? Yeah, in my opinion. But you know what? Somebody else will be like, well, I don't believe in God, and that's what Boy Scouts stand for.
Yeah.
So it's got to be one, or it's got to be none.
You letting personal
All or
opinions
none.
dictate the law.
Yeah.
Like it's like
Well,
you said, if
you
you're
know,
an atheist and you don't believe in a church group, then you're gonna picket the church group from.
I'm going to disagree.
Sure.
Pretty much, first of all, it's public roads, and the first thing you got to think about roads is safety. Okay, and honestly, it's going to be a black eye on us, and the image it puts out there is awful. For one thing, I don't want it. I'm a citizen, and I think I have a right, and I elect my congressman and my senator from my Georgia General Assembly to represent me, and I want him to represent me. I don't want that in my state, and I use whatever logic you want. I think the best logic would be public safety, because if that's going to be put up, I'm gonna be right behind anyone that's going to march against it, and we're going to create a traffic jam. And
They've already denied it. The KKK is now just suing for financial issues of discrimination. But
discriminating them as far as I don't care, because that's a group that has pretty much.
But they pretty much aren't using the same thing that they stand for.
No.
You're follow me. You're discriminating against KKK, who discriminates against other people. So therefore, we're all discriminators.
No. You're talking about a group that has an ideology of hate.
Correct.
You might as well just go and say the brown shirts can go ahead and put their thing up, and you should go ahead and have an education system that has Hitler Youth. You should just go for it. No, we have to draw the line and say this is not tolerated in this country. It goes against the ideology of our country, and it's not so much that it's illegal to have views. I don't care if you have views. You can have all the views you want, but when you're inciting hate, when you're trying to get a rise out of people to actually act out violence, that's different. That's like there's a lot of people kind of get the idea you can't yell fire in a theater.
But then
putting that sign up on the road is essentially doing that.
But Georgia messed up. Georgia put it in through their stipulations in a way that said all hate groups are done and over with. Like people of hate groups, people of violence and everything like that cannot participate in this program is one thing. But because that law's not in there, they have every right, just as much as the Boy Scouts or anybody else, to purchase, because they purchase it, don't they?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Well, I don't know if it's they purchased the land or not purchased it, but at least where the sign goes and everything else like that, I know they got to pay for their own sign to say this is being kept up by this certain group. You can't do that.
Even if we lose the case as far as the Georgia, I'm okay with the politicians or whoever's in charge denying them.
Yeah,
we lose the case, but I think it's worth fighting for. There's some respect for the state of Georgia.
I'm with you.
Okay. Well, I like that one. It was an interesting topic.
That is
I figured
interesting.
threw it in there.
Before you finish, is
Sure.
there any other questions? I'm talking to the producer. Is there any other questions that we have?
My screen's down, so I can't.
I can't see it from here.
No other questions at this time, but we do have one that was going to be thrown out all three of y'all to see what your opinion is.
Well, there's a question about 9/11 and conspiracies, but I was going to save that for maybe a different time because it's going to take up a lot of time. But I'll ask the other question was, and I'll put it in my final say, because it was she didn't know who to vote for. She has no idea in this election season.
Who's that?
Mitt Romney or Obama, one of the person in the
Okay.
chat room.
Okay.
And I'm basically going to say, look, not too long ago, I was asked by my girlfriend, if this country is going so bad downhill, you're an Irish immigrant, you came here, why don't you move somewhere else? Why don't you move along and find a better country if this one's? But you know what? This is my home, and this is my final stance. This is my ground, and America's it.
Yeah.
After America, there's not much left.
It really isn't.
and I want to make this it, and I'm going to put up a fight to make sure that it stays the way that it should be and that what we believe in, and not go down a socialist, communist past or future. And why vote for Mitt Romney? Not because he's the best person out there to vote for,
Sure.
but you give Obama 4 more years where he can do what he wants, knowing that he doesn't have to worry about getting reelected. To imagine the powers he has under his fingertips is scary. And I don't like that. And even though I don't agree with Mitt Romney 100%, I sure as hell agree with him more than I do Obama.
You know, I want to give her.
No, and that's my final say.
Yeah.
I want to give you, since you can't determine to pick between one or the other, listen, get the facts and make a reasonable decision based on what your heart feels on policies and issues. But I will say this. Are you really better off than 4 years ago? If you're not, President Barack Obama, who can't keep his promise of the fact that if he can't turn this economy around in 4 years, he will be a one-term president, then that's the man you want to vote for. If you think you're better off, vote for Obama. But majority of the nation is not. And I would say, unfortunately, it's picked the lesser of the two evils.
You know, from this what we're going down this road with talking to anyone out there that hasn't really made their mind yet on voting. You know, when it comes to an election every 4 years, we make a big deal about who we're going to vote for. And I would tell people, at the heart, find your ideology. Find out what you believe this country should be doing. There's an ideology behind different people. Barack has a clearly defined ideology. The whole thing about Ford, that's a progressive statement. He is progressive, and if you don't know what that means, you need to find out. Okay? If you don't know who Lenin is, you need to find out, because it's in the same genre as progressive. Teddy Roosevelt, Woodrow Wilson, Marx, it's all progressive. That is the same rub that Barack Obama is. Find your ideology. Vote your ideology. If you don't have one, get one. Decide what your ideology is. And as an alternative to that ideology, I would state an ideology of freedom, which is basically a Judeo-Christian view of representative democracy. And that's where we started. And was it perfect when we first wrote our Constitution? Absolutely not. I think any Republican that wants to tout go Constitution 100%, I'm a constitutionalist, I think they need to rethink it, because there's a lot in that Constitution we should have changed, and we did. The first thing we did was adopt the Bill of Rights. We needed every one of them. And there's other changes we made along the way. The 14th Amendment, great one, and other ones. But we have to be open-minded, but we have to have our ideology. We have to develop our sense of who we are and where we're going. And if you don't have that, maybe if you don't have your own ideology, maybe you shouldn't vote. Because you don't know what you're going to do. You're just kind of lost out there. Find your ideology first. Find out who you are.
Well, folks, that's all the time we had today on Town2Weekly. We thank you for joining us, and our thoughts and prayers are definitely with the victims of the attacks in Egypt, and we wish all the people overseas, American-wise, much safety. We'll be back next Monday, 7 Eastern Time. Look forward to hearing from you and answering some more questions. Thank you again.
Thanks.
Thanks. Cairo speech.
Which version?
Thank you for joining us today, and hopefully to see you next Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and please don't forget to subscribe below.